There we go. So now the webinar is being recorded, and we will send out a link to that. And then also we will send out, Andy has a PowerPoint presentation. We will send out the PDF version of that as well so that you can look back at all those details. At the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A dialog box. Please ask your questions there. It looks like we've got a couple questions already. So please ask your questions there, and then after Andy's presentation, he will answer as many questions as possible. I asked him if he has a hard stop after this, and he said no. So we will go as long as he is available and to get all the questions answered. A lot has changed even in the last 48 hours as far as the SBA is concerned. So you are getting the most up-to-date information from Andy. There's also a poll. If you want to take a moment to look at, I think there's 3 questions on the poll that would help us know if your business is open or not, if your employees and yourself are working remotely at this point, and if you've had to lay off any employees. So as I said, we will send out a link to the recording, Andy's PDF, and we will also send out some other resources related to employment issues. I know a lot of people have questions about that right now, and we just saw the state and federal packages come through, and so we're deep diving into those, and we'll be sending out a summary. So with that being said, thank you for being here today. I'd like to introduce Andy. Andy is a lifelong resident of the Central Valley. He's out of the Fresno office. He's born and raised in Fresno. He graduated from CSU Fresno with a BS in Business Finance. Andy has over 18 years of business commercial lending in originating loans under the SBA loans program and other government guaranteed lending programs. In 2009, Andy began his career with SBA's Fresno Commercial Loan Service Center, where he worked in the liquidations department, litigation, and REO properties. In 2015, Andy changed positions to be the lender relations specialist, district international trade officer, and SCORE liaison for the SBA's Fresno district office. The SBA Fresno office covers 15 counties and the Central Valley, Eastern Sierra, and Central Coast region. Welcome, Andy Seeto. I'll let you take it from here.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Jocelyn. First of all, I'd like to thank Jocelyn and her team at the South County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event during these trying times that we're going through right now. And I also like to give a special shout out to Audrey Powell, the Director of Membership there at the South County Chamber. I met her at one of our resource partner events, SCORE in San Luis Obispo, and we got to talking, and so this is how it came about, and Audrey did a great job in talking me up to Jocelyn, so thank you, Audrey. You know, and as Jocelyn said, we are in unprecedented times right now. We've never gone through such a situation as this economically. Not only economically for businesses, but also individually as well. It's disrupting all parts of life as we speak right now. So before I get into the PowerPoint presentation, I will give you some information here. So the SBA is going to provide disaster assistance loans to those affected states or territories whose small businesses are impacted by the consequences of the coronavirus. The declaration initiates the agency's application process to provide a small business within a state or territory an economic injury disaster loan of up to $2 million. These loans can provide vital economic assistance to small businesses to help overcome the temporary loss of revenue they are experiencing. SBA continues to assist small businesses with accessing federal resources such as working capital loans and counseling and navigating their preparedness plans through our network of 68 district offices throughout the country and numerous resource partners located around the country. In your area in San Luis Obispo County, you're fortunate to have 3 very good resource partners. You have the SCORE San Luis Obispo chapter there. You have the Cal Poly Small Business Development Center, and you have Mission Community Services, who handles the women's business centers there. So those are 3 very good resources within your county to go there to get guidance or business counseling services through. And typically, any of those meetings that you have with those resource partners, there are no charges to meet with them and meet with the counseling side and guidance side of that, mentoring side. Okay. Small businesses are encouraged to do their part to keep their employees, customers, and themselves healthy. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention offers the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 as well as guidance for businesses and employers to plan and respond. So we all need to do our part as much as we can to try to combat this virus that's getting around and keep it from spreading out. And I'm going to try to advance this slide here, which I seem to be having problems with. There we go. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the SBA has approved a disaster assistance program available. When the first declaration came out on last Friday afternoon, it only included certain specific counties within the state of California. Since then, as of yesterday afternoon, we received a press release from the SBA Administrator, Jovita Carranza, stating that now that any state that has been declared a disaster under this economic injury loan program, that the entire state is now eligible for small businesses to apply for the economic injury disaster loan. Okay. So it's not county specific anymore, it is statewide now. We did have some issues. I think what happened is since the news release came out yesterday, we had some businesses go online to try to apply, and they were still kicked out based on the county code. So I think our system needed to be updated, and so hopefully by today or tomorrow, you'll be able to access it statewide here, okay? So this is the declaration that you see here on this first slide. It gives you the posting number and the occurring date. So the occurring date is very important because this is when it was stated that it started in reference to how this disaster started. So the date they put it to was January 31, 2020, and then continuing on going forward, okay? So the Economic Injury Loan Program provides working capital loans to help small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, small businesses engaged in aquaculture, and most private nonprofit organizations of all sizes. So typically under our regular SBA loan programs, nonprofits would not be eligible under our regular SBA loan programs. So under the disaster assistance program, nonprofit entities are now eligible to apply for this disaster loan program. So such as the South County Chamber of Commerce, you're a nonprofit. If you are being impacted by the coronavirus because you're not able to do events that provided fundraising for your organization, then you could look at applying for the disaster loan as well. Okay, what can you use the economic injury disaster loan for? It's basically set up for you to take care of your daily operational expenses. So it's there to pay fixed debts, payroll obligations if you have them, accounts payables, and other bills that can't be paid because of the disaster's impact. Okay? So mainly for daily operational purposes. You cannot use this program to pay for any past loans that you have and you want to try to refinance. Okay, so but it can be used to make your monthly payments on those previous loans that you have. This is a loan program, so there is credit requirements involved with it. Okay, so the SBA, when you apply for the loan program, they do look at your credit history. Applicants must have a credit history accepted to the SBA. You must be able to show repayment ability. Applicants must show the ability to repay the loan. Anything over $25,000 under the disaster loan program, the SBA will take collateral. So whether it's the business assets being pledged as collateral, and if you have other properties or other assets on the personal side being you as the principal of the business, when they review it, they may ask to take those items additionally as collateral for the loan as well. Now here's one caveat to this is SBA will not decline a loan for a lack of collateral. Okay, so if it's not there but you can show these other things, you have the credit history, you have the repayment ability, but you don't have full-on collateral to fully support the disaster loan, SBA will not decline it because of the lack of collateral. Okay, the interest rate is determined by a formula set by law. And on this slide here, it says when they first did this, it said that the program is at 4%. We recently got in that press release that for business loans, the interest rate will be at 3.75%, and that's a fixed rate for the term of the loan. And for nonprofit entities, the fixed rate will be 2.75%. The loan terms could go up to 30 years. Now, that's going to be dependent on how the analysis comes out. So what the Disaster Center will be looking at is installment payments based on financial condition of each borrower, and that will determine the loan terms. So if when they review it and they analyze it and they see that you can pay back this disaster loan within a certain amount of time, then that's the time frame that they'll offer you to repay it back in. The loan limits under this program is $2 million. So this is still in play even if you have an existing SBA loan guarantee in place. So whatever you have obligated now under the SBA programs, it does not impact this loan amount limit under the disaster loan programs. So if you are in that area where you potentially need up to $2 million, it's a possibility that you can still get that without having to worry about any loan limitations there. Loan eligibility restrictions. Okay, so SBA does have some eligibility requirements there. And basically what it boils down to is that if you have defaulted on any previous SBA loans, and then also if you have defaulted on any other federal obligations, such as being delinquent on federal taxes, student loans are impacted as well, federal student loans. If you are in that situation that you have those outstanding and they're in default, before you apply for the disaster program, you want to go and try to remedy those loans that you have out there and get them back onto some sort of a payment plan where the coding of those federal obligations have been changed to current or deferred. So it's very important that if you have those scenarios out there, that you take care of those things first before applying for the economic injury loan, because if you do answer that you had previous loans and you defaulted on or other federal obligations, the loan will be declined. As I mentioned earlier, refinancing economic injury disaster loans cannot be used to refinance other long-term debts that you have outstanding already, but you can use it and factor in part of the disaster loan proceeds to take care of those monthly payments on that. Another thing too is that whoever you have those loans with, you may want to discuss with that lending institution whether or not they can provide you a loan deferment. Deferments basically allows a lender to provide you as a borrower to defer payments on a specific loan payment for a specific amount of time. So there's opportunities for you to talk to your lenders on that too. Insurance requirements. So the SBA will require that you obtain insurance, and hopefully you do have insurance already. So basically, if you're providing collateral from the business or personally, we want to make sure that you have the proper insurance on those collateral items there. And if you happen to be in a flood zone area, you have to make sure that we get flood zone policy as well. Okay, when you go into the system on the SBA website, this is the information primarily is what you're going to need to complete the online application. This is the only way you're going to be able to apply for the loan. I think there are some areas in the website that says that you can submit a paper application, but I haven't been able to find that on the website. So at this point in time, you do have to go in and apply for the disaster loan assistance on the online application process. So the main things here is you got to provide your contact information, of course, Social Security numbers for all applicants. FEMA registration number, that's on there, but I'm not quite sure if you need to register for that, because this is not a property injury disaster, it's more of an economic injury, so you probably will not have to do the FEMA registration. Deed or lease information they're going to ask for. So they want to make sure if you're a business that if you own the property or if you're leasing a property, that you have that lease information on there as well. Provide the insurance information. Financial information is going to be very important. So your income, account balances, and monthly expenses. And your employer identification number for business applicants. The other required documentation that they're going to ask online is they're going to have you fill out a business loan application, and it has to be completed and signed by the business, so it'll be like online signature. You'll need to fill out a form 4506 that's going to be completed, and this is basically a tax transcript that this allows the SBA to go to the IRS to pull a transcript of the tax returns that you have provided. So anyone that owns, so you'll have also provide the business federal tax returns, but any principal that owns 20% or more of the business will also have to provide their personal tax returns as well. Federal only, but you do have to include all the schedules within the tax returns, okay? So do not leave any of the schedules out of those tax returns. If you do that, you just submit the first 2 pages of the tax return. The loan specialist that receives that application, when they go through it, they will have to contact you to ask you for the full entire tax return on that. And that, of course, when that happens, that will delay the process. So the best thing to do is try to give all the information on these items as much as possible, and all of it as possible, and making sure that you give all the information up front, because then you won't have that delay in the decision process. And of course, the ultimate goal is trying to get the funding out as soon as possible. Okay. And then they'll ask you to do, as the principals of the business, they'll ask you to fill out a personal financial statement as well. Okay. And then they'll give you a schedule of liabilities listing all fixed debts within the business and personally too. Okay, if the most recent federal tax return has not been filed, a year-end profit and loss statement and balance sheet for that tax year is acceptable. So if for some reason you're still on extension from last year, and you've gotten an extension approved through the IRS, you can still provide a year-end financial statement for that. By now, hopefully, everyone should have filed their 2018 tax returns. And right now we're still in the okay without the 2019 tax return, but as long as you can do a year-end financial statement up to December 31, 2019, or whatever your fiscal year end might be on a corporate basis. A current year-to-date profit and loss statement. So you want to do a year-to-date profit and loss statement based on a month ending. So right now we're in the middle of March right now. If you can get a statement up to January 31, that's good. But even better, if you can go to February 29th, since we had a leap year this year, we went to the 29th. If you can go to the 29th, that's even better. The closer you can do it, the better it is. And then they'll be asking for additional filing requirements of providing monthly sales figures going forward. Then 2, they're gonna want to see projected sales going forward and possibly projected expenses too. So you may wanna look at that and start thinking about what those items are and what your expenses are going to be going forward. This is the link to apply online. So disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. Okay. If there are any issues you have on the online system, there's that 800 toll-free number there that you can contact the Disaster Customer Service Center for that. And then also there's an email address if you get, and right now I'm hearing that there's quite a wait time on that 800 number. Some folks have been telling me they get on there and then the wait time that's provided to them has been like 15 to 20 minutes. So it's been quite horrendous in reference to try to get through the customer service center, or the other alternative is sending them the email, and then hopefully they can respond back to you pretty quickly or call you, leave a contact information on that email, and they can call you back there. And of course, we do have a line for our disabled hearing citizens as well. So if you're out there and you need to have hard of hearing abilities, then there's an 800 number for that as well. Keep in mind, this is a loan program. The good thing about it is it's a long-term loan program and the interest rates are lower than what you can normally get. You do have to show that, of course, the coronavirus has impacted your business. And in most cases, for most of our businesses here in our community, because especially for our service businesses, the restaurants and hotel motels, and other service businesses that are out there, they're being impacted by some of the local government mandates that they do not have large gatherings, and possibly even saying that they should have not do any indoor type activities at all, or serving indoors and doing takeout business. So that's going to just show quite a bit of impact for a lot of businesses. But it is a loan program, and you do have to qualify for it. So making sure that your credit is good, or at least decent, and then making sure you don't have any outstanding federal obligations that are out there. And if you'd like, you can also go onto this link to let us know and complete a survey out, and it'll ask you for comments in there as well about how the SBA is assisting you, your businesses during this time of the coronavirus. So Jocelyn, I am open for any questions that you have right now.
Okay. If you want to, you might want to keep your screen shared in case you need to go back to a specific slide.
Okay.
And
Yes.
if you click on the Q&A down there and you just want to take those questions one by one, that looks like there's 19 questions.
Okay, I do have a question here from Debbie. Will short-term rental businesses be able to apply? I'm assuming that's a storage facility.
I think she's thinking like Airbnb, short-term vacation rentals.
Okay. If they are short-term businesses where they're doing rental spaces that are 30 days and less, you should be able to apply. Okay. But if you have transient or tenants that are in there that are longer than 30-day stays, you would not be able to apply.
Okay.
Okay, and then a question from Joy. If one owns more than one small business, can we receive multiple loans or only one? It's good. I'm assuming if the businesses are the same, you would apply for both of those businesses under your corporation, I think, if you're set up as a corporation. Okay. If you're set up differently, as an affiliate business where you have a partial ownership in one and you have another ownership in another one, then you could apply. What happens is the loan cap then comes into play up to $2 million. So because they do count affiliate concerns as part of that loan cap of $2 million. So if that becomes an issue, then that may be the scenario there. And John has a question. Will question and answers from this webinar also be posted with the recorded session? So I believe you have it recorded, so all these questions and answers are going to be on the recording.
Correct.
And then Wendy, can nonprofits in SLO County apply for SBA disaster? Yes, nonprofits, normally under our regular SBA programs, nonprofits were not eligible, but under the Disaster Assistance Loan Program, nonprofits can apply for that disaster relief. Okay, when will Santa Barbara, from Ryan, when will Santa Barbara, California businesses be able to apply for disaster loans? So right now, as of yesterday afternoon, the entire state of California is eligible to apply for disaster loan assistance. So hopefully our online application system has been updated and there's no kickouts in reference to that. What you're gonna do when you get into that system on the website there is it's gonna have you register online, so they'll set you up with the registration thing, and then from there it'll start you through the application process, and then it'll ask you about your location and so forth. So hopefully that's been updated and it won't kick you out at that point. If it does, be patient and then try again later or possibly tomorrow. And then John asked if I was going to be visible on screen. It's fortunate for you that I was not visible on screen. So, and we'll leave it at that. Danielle, I work with seniors at a local mobile home park. What special services or resources are available to seniors at this time? I'm already aware of the Central Coast Commission for Senior Citizens. So I'm not able to answer that question. I don't know if Jocelyn, if you have an answer for that one.
Yeah, maybe Danielle, you can be a little bit more specific. I know that our home health companies are staffed up and ready to take additional patients. So if those seniors in your community need a trained medical professional to maybe come into their home, I can give you some suggestions on that, or you can go on the chamber website to look some of those up. I know if they need rides or meals delivered, there is the Meals on Wheels and Meals That Connect. So hopefully that helps a little bit, but if there's something specific, feel free to email me. You should have my email from your registration reminder. And also I wanted to mention, I forgot at the top of the webinar to mention that Andy's contact information is also in the webinar details.
Hey, Tanya. Sorry, Tanya, all you're able to see was the SBA blue screen and hear the audio. Jocelyn will be sending out the PowerPoint presentation. It is a little bit longer on the presentation because originally what we were going to have was a live workshop at your monthly chamber meeting, your monthly luncheon. And we were going to talk about our regular loan programs and services. But you'll have that on the PowerPoint as well. Okay, Stephanie, when the period of time is unknown, how should we estimate what may be needed? That is a very good question. It's all going to depend on how you feel things are going to transpire with this virus and how it's going to be contained and so forth. So at this point in time, it's hard to say where it may go towards and how long it's going to be. I know through press releases and some of the speeches that the federal government has with the president and so forth, and with the CDC, that they think somewhere like in around July, they feel that everything will be contained with it, and the spread of it will not be as prominent as it is now. So I don't know if that's a good factor to factor into, or if you want to look at going towards the end of the year. So you want to try to do your best estimate of when you think your business will start to pick back up again. And I guess it all depends on what type of business you're in as well. If you're more into the restaurant, tourism type businesses, you might need to go out a little bit further than some of the other types of businesses. Stephanie asked again, another question is, what is the FEMA registration? The FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency of the federal government. And typically FEMA is active when there's more property damage. So that's why I was saying during the presentation that you probably won't need to do the FEMA registration. But if you go through the online application and it asks you for it, then you will have to go into FEMA, the online FEMA system, to get a registration number. Okay, we have a question from Anonymous. Do you have a recommendation for a reasonable business insurance policy? I'm not going to be able to answer that question for you, unfortunately. If it's a concern, you definitely want to shop around like anything else, almost like buying a car. You want to go shop around and try to see who's giving you the appropriate premiums and the appropriate policy coverages and so forth.
And Andy, if I can just chime in there too, we have a lot of chamber members that provide insurance policies, and we can recommend one of those. But also, at a time like this, you're really thankful to have a local insurance agency where you can actually call someone that chances are you probably know and knows you, and have a policy with them and ask, them your questions. I think right now, if you had a national online insurance company servicing your needs, I can just imagine how long the wait times are on those types of policies right now. So anyways, if anyone is looking for insurance, recommendation, we can give you some local referrals.
Oh, that brings up something that just triggered in my mind here, Jocelyn, is be aware of potential scammers.
Great point.
Right now, I did talk to someone yesterday who called our office, and they were receiving emails and other solicitations about and pretending and acting like they were an SBA lender. So beware of those and verify as much as you can before getting into any types of situations with those types of solicitations. I mean, they made it look like it was legitimate. They said the right words in the email, but when I asked the person who called in the name of the company was and where they were located, it just did not sound right. And I checked on our online system for our lender list, and they were not on our lender list. So if you do get something like that and you wanted to verify it, just feel free to contact our Fresno district office.
And Andy, I just noticed one comment on the chat was Lindy was wondering specifically when she asked about the nonprofits, will they be included for loans? She was asking specifically 501c6s and C3s. Does a C6, like the chamber is a C6, we're not a charitable organization, but we are a nonprofit or not-for-profit. Would a C6 also be included under this economic disaster relief package?
As far as I know, as of right now, it does not exclude any nonprofits.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it is, but I will verify that and get back to you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next question from the anonymous. When evaluating ability to repay, how is that established? As a result of COVID-19, our company's revenue had significantly decreased and would call into question ability to repay at the current time. If when normal business environment returns, repayment would not be a problem. Okay, good question. It basically, when they ask for your previous tax returns and financial statements, that's how they're going to develop the ability to repay. So they will look at to see how the business has done in the past and determine on that if you're able to repay. Now, one thing too that I didn't mention earlier is you can actually be too rich for this program as well. So if you have, on the personal side and on the business side, if your cash flow is doing well, even during the disaster, or you have assets that are free and clear, that you would be able to get financing by other means on reasonable rates and terms, you could be too rich for the program and you may not be able to get it. Okay, so it just all depends on what the analyst sees on that. But if you happen to be a billionaire out there and you have the resources to fund the business during this disaster period, then usually the disaster center will say, well, you have the ability to fund this because you have all those liquid resources there. So keep that in mind as well.
Andy, what sort of assets, free and clear assets, would be prohibitive?
Well, I mean, if you got tons of real estate and it's got a lot of equity in it, or you're sitting on $1 million in cash on your own, and probably more than likely the SBA is going to come back and say, well, you can take some of that $1 million and help fund your business during this time frame, and then they could come back to you and say, then we can offer you this much of a loan. Or they may say, you should be able to take care of the business completely based off of your resources.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what they don't consider is if you have like retirement accounts, they don't consider that as part of your liquid assets. Okay, Stephanie asked a optimistic question. Is there an early prepayment penalty? There is not a prepayment penalty for the disaster loans. So that's a good question there. And if things get back to normal and cash starts coming back into your business and you want to get rid of that debt as quickly as possible, you can feel free to prepay it early. Tracy, I am a new business owner as of February 1st. I do not have a previous tax document from former owner. Okay. So if you acquired that business and you didn't receive any of their previous financial information, I'm not sure if that's going to create a problem for the disaster loan program. Under our regular programs, that could have created a problem. But under disaster relief, it may not be as much a problem. So my recommendation on this is you can go ahead and try through the application process, and then they'll guide you through the rest of it and see where, if you're able to get the financing for that under the disaster program. Scott Hillis. Hi, Scott Hillis from SCORE. Thank you for joining us on the webinar.
Hi, Scott.
Is there a minimum amount that can be borrowed? From what I heard, I think the lowest that I've heard that they've gone down to was about $5,000. Question from Lewis. What is the link for the application? Okay. Jocelyn will send out the presentation. So the presentation will have the link for the application site.
Yeah, I'll send all them. I'm just going to have to render the recording, and then I will send out the link to the recording, Andy's PDF of his PowerPoint presentation, and also all the important links.
All right. And we have a question from one of our lenders, SBA lenders, Michelle Dubois. Hi, Michelle. Do existing SBA customers need to ask for a deferment first before they apply for disaster relief? Michelle, they do not. So as long as they are able to make the payments, the monthly payments, and that's the key thing, is making sure they're current on that SBA loan, they can still apply for the disaster relief. The deferment comes into play is if you and that potential borrower foresee that there's going to be a problem with their cash flow and they're not going to be able to maintain and be current on their loan payments. So at that point in time, you can do a deferment. And then doing a deferment does not disallow them from applying for the disaster relief program as well.
Can I chime in here? I just, Bruce R. just said, FYI, SLO County not yet declared. Can you clarify that for him? Some people came on, might have joined a little bit after the introductory remarks.
Sure. The SBA website on there for the disaster declarations, when you click on the state declaration, it's still showing on the notice by county. Okay. But as I mentioned earlier, through our press release yesterday from our SBA Administrator Carranza, is that now the whole entire state of California should be able to apply online without any restrictions by county. Okay. Now, whether or not our system has been updated to reflect that, I don't know yet. I know yesterday afternoon at about 4 o'clock, one of the businesses that I talked to yesterday, I tried to go on yesterday afternoon, and they were kicked out because by the county selection there. But hopefully today or possibly tomorrow, and as I mentioned earlier, try to be patient with it because sometimes it takes time to update these systems. Be patient, try it. If you get kicked out because of that, then try it again tomorrow, and then hopefully it'll go through. I do apologize for any inconvenience that may cause for everybody. Okay, the slide. Can you put the slide that has the SBA form number for personal financial statement? The form number for the SBA personal financial statement is a 413 form. Okay, from Antonio, since we don't know the long-term economic impact yet of the virus, are we better off to wait a while to show more losses, or should we apply immediately based on projected losses? Well, Antonio, that's hard to say because it depends on where your business is going right now and how it's doing financially and on the cash flow side. If you foresee that in the type of business you're in, that you're going to have loss of revenue and you're not going to be able to maintain your current obligations of your business, then you probably should not wait. You should probably go ahead and do it and then project out. Okay, Ron asked a question. If we received an SBA loan in October that provided 2 years of projections, what's the recommended term of reduced revenue we show in our new application? For instance, would I say January 31, end of August would be reduced by 20% or more? Yeah, without me knowing what your financials look like, it's hard to say, but that's something that you would need to probably talk it over with between you and possibly one of our business counselor networks there in San Luis Obispo County, or your accountant. Okay, anonymous. What if you have a current SBA loan? Can that be modified? Again, the option right now, if you have a current SBA loan, is to talk to your lender and see if they can give you a payment deferment. Okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and the lender will tell you this too, is if you receive a payment deferment, you have to do what they call a catch-up plan on your deferred payments. So over time, they'll give you a certain amount of time to make up those catch-up payments. So that will increase, after the deferment period is over, that will increase your monthly payment schedule going forward to make up those catch-up payments on those deferred payments. So you got to talk it over with your lender, and then making sure that that's going to be suitable for you as a borrower there, and then as the business going forward.
And Andy, just a clarifying question on that. So really what you're saying is that these are two different loans. Someone might have a current SBA loan, but this is an economic disaster loan for this time that we're in right now. So that current SBA loan that they have can't be modified into the economic disaster loan program.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah. If you have existing long-term debts onto the business, you cannot use the economic injury disaster loan to refinance those loans. Okay, this is from the, I hope I say this right, the Buellton Chamber.
Yep.
Awesome. Do the nonprofits need to be 501c3 or C6? And we just talked about that. So I think at this point in time, there are no restrictions on the type of nonprofits, but I'm going to verify for that. Okay, from Mike, will SBA
Defer?
I think it's offer loan payments on existing loans. So yes, if you get the economic injury disaster loan program and you factor in your existing obligations that you have to pay through your business, you can factor in those monthly loan payments plus your accounts payables and things like that within that loan that you're looking for.
So your current loan payment can be considered an expense when you're applying
Correct.
for the economic disaster loan. Okay.
Correct. Okay, Michelle, are personal guarantees or collateral from board members required for nonprofits? Okay, yeah, that's a difficult part. Usually for nonprofits, you can't get anyone on the board to provide a personal guarantee. So more than likely, it probably will not be required. Okay, from C. Dudley, I have a business owner who has a $200,000 balloon payment due October 2020. Can a loan be applied for on this? Spirit Commercial Real Estate 25-year. No, it cannot be part of the economic injury disaster loan program. However, you can look at possibly refinancing this loan under the regular SBA loan programs. So whether it's a 504 or a 7A loan, you can look at doing it under the regular programs. Okay, William, can I work with the online application through multiple sessions to upload documents? I believe you can because you are registering, so when you sign back in, you should be able to go back into it again. Okay, question from Danielle. Yes, thank you, I will do that. Okay, I'm not sure, that's not a question.
I think that was from the earlier question.
Doc Bernstein's ice cream. Hey, how's it going? About how long will the loan process take? Obviously, it will vary. Can you give a range? Good question. Okay, the disaster center states that there's a 3-step process in how this thing goes through. Okay, so you'll go through the application process. Then you'll go through the loan processing and the decision-making process. And then the third step is, and when you get there, is loan closed and funds dispersed, okay? So if there are no questions or any additional needed information required by the loan specialist in step 2, they will get you an answer back within 2 to 3 weeks on the decision, okay? They should be talking to you in the meantime during the time frames there if there's anything that they have any questions on or if they need any additional information. Now, what helps is the time frame that you have to turn around to give that information back to the loan specialist. So as quickly as you can give it, and as I mentioned earlier, when you submit your loan application, you want to submit as much as possible, everything as possible, to comply with the items that they've been requested for, okay? Because that helps in not delaying the decision-making process. So they're gonna try to get the decision within 2 to 3 weeks, and then from there, at the approval process, documents will be drafted up and they'll be sent out to you to sign the loan documents. And then once those documents are returned back, then usually within 5 days, and then the funding process will start. Okay. So overall, you may be looking at roughly about a 5-week turnaround time.
And Andy, another clarifying question. Is that your typical time frame, or that's the time frame you're giving for our current situation?
This is actually compared to our regular SBA loan funding programs, it's very quick. Usually, like for working capital loans, things like that in our regular 7(a) program, depending on the program that's used and the lender's authority to lend on it, it could take anywhere from 60 days to 90 days. And if it's a real estate transaction, of course, it could be 90 to 120 days.
So this is an expedited process?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Ryan asks, can we ask for monies for future expenses related to the corona? For example, I am in a college area UCSB and they have made school online through summer. That means I will have 6 months of losses. Yes, you can project future payments, daily obligations on the money you're asking for the disaster loan program, okay? So as much as you project out, you think you're gonna have substantial losses and you need to have those obligations taken care of with the loan program, then you want to try to put that in there. Joy, if one has a USDA loan, who decides if they will grant a deferment? If you have a USDA loan, which is, I believe, is a guaranteed loan, if you have a business and industry loan program, that would have to go through your lender that provided the funding for it, and then the lender, I believe, will have to go to USDA to get the final approval on that. Okay. If you have a farm loan through USDA, a direct farm loan, you would have to go directly to Farm Services Agency. Mary, we've already been inquiring with claims from the various business carriers we represent. This is still an unknown claim situation for loss of business. We're being told to submit claims for possible coverage. So I'm assuming this is business interruption insurance. So Mary's giving you you guys a heads up on this. So if you do have business interruption insurance, they're submitting the situation for loss for business, but they're not sure if they're going to be able to cover these or not. And Anonymous gave Jocelyn a thank you for very good advice.
You're welcome.
Jim, the only disaster in the application is earthquake. Okay, that's interesting. They should have one for coronavirus on there if you're in the right website. So I'm not quite sure on that. You may need to maybe sign out and then check back in again and try to go through that process again, making sure that you do the economic injury disaster loan program. Roxanne in Salinas is with the chamber. What office do we call? I'm not quite sure where you're asking for, but I'm assuming you're asking for my contact info. and that will be in the presentation, but I can give you the phone number right now. Our office number here at the Fresno District Office is 559-487-5791. And any of, I do have 5 other counterparts here, so any of our 5 other counterparts, if I'm not available, we should be able to assist you as well. See, Jessica, we are in the middle of lease negotiations with a new building or have to re-sign our current spots lease. Would committing to the new lease affect the ability to get a loan? I don't think it should. If you're moving to a newer location and you do have an executed signed lease, then you can factor those lease payments into the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So I don't believe that should be an issue there, Jessica. Lisa, hi, the loan website still isn't updated with SLO County. Should businesses apply regardless or wait until that change? As I mentioned earlier, for some reason, the declaration still has not been updated, but I'm hoping the application website has updated and is allowing the whole state of California to be able to get on the system and start applying. Let's see, Medina, I'm a mobile business and currently have a liability insurance, car insurance, and life insurance. What other insurance will I be needing to apply? I think that you pretty much got it covered there, I believe, on the insurance side. L. Walker, what loan amounts can we apply for? Are there loans at 25, 50, 100,000 or more? As Scott Hillis asked the question, the minimum amount, the lowest I've seen is $5,000 on up to $2 million maximum. And the slides will be available after the webinar. They'll be sent out by Jocelyn. Question from Les, can we borrow in order to pay credit card debt that relates to jobs in queue that have been put on hold by both private sector and in one case, the federal government? Also, can we borrow money to finance upcoming jobs due to existing clients putting jobs on hold? We are a green engineering and solutions company, primarily clean water and power solutions such as solar power. All of our clients but one have stalled on the build process. Yes, you can definitely include those credit card debts that you have on there. Whether or not you can pay off the whole thing is going to be dependent on the charges on the date. So as I referenced earlier, how it talked about the declaration occurring date of January 31, 2020. So items that have been done or charged after that date could potentially be put into the EIDL program to be paid off with. If charges were done prior to that, that's going to be up to the loan specialist to determine if that can be included in the EIDL program. And then also, of course, you want to factor in potential payroll that you have to pay out as well going forward as well too. Okay, RA, will the loans require a personal guarantee from the applicants if no collateral? Yes, all loans under the SBA programs do require personal guarantees, except for maybe the exception for the nonprofit entities. So if you're a for-profit entity, small business, any individual that owns a 20% or more interest in the business will have to provide the personal guarantee. In some situations now, if you have an ownership interest that no one has a 20% or more interest, then what they'll do is they will take whoever the main corporate officers are or the main partners are in any type of situation like that and request that they provide the personal guarantees. Ryan, what is the income threshold for being declined for a disaster loan? You know, I can't even say. It's going to depend on what you submitted at your application and so forth, and then what your liquid assets are and your liquidity is and all that. So it's all going to depend on what the analysis looks like and what the loan specialist sees in your loan application. Jim says the disaster box on the application that can be checked. I'm not quite sure what you're asking there, Jim, so if you can. Send that back in again. Tanya, we are an e-commerce business and our sales have stopped. Will we be able to qualify? Absolutely. If you're a legal business, you are able to qualify and apply for the loan. There are some ineligible businesses that SBA will not do, and one of those, and one of the hot ones is in our state of California here, is something that is green, marijuana. So if you're in the marijuana space, that is not a legal substance according to federal law, you would not be eligible to apply for the EIDL program. If you are in the hemp business, hemp is eligible, so you can do that. You do have to provide proof that your hemp product, that your THC levels do not exceed a 0.3% dry weight basis on that THC level there. So you have to make sure if you're a hemp type of industry or business that you're not exceeding that, because as soon as it goes beyond the 0.3% level there, then it becomes marijuana.
Andy, I have a question from the chat box here. It says, we are a gym with monthly memberships. At this time, we've not had any, or not had many cancellations. How can we project out losses, not knowing how long this will last and how much business will be lost? We are trying to adapt to an online platform, but we're expecting a drastic drop in membership.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. It is very difficult for membership organizations like that to figure out if you're going to have a loss of membership. In your situation there, you may have to show, or may even have to wait until that time when you're starting to see drops in membership to apply for the disaster program. At this point, there's no expiration date to apply for the disaster program yet. So it's, the occurring date is January 31, 2020 and continuing. So at this point, there's no end date for you to apply. So if your membership maintains and you're still driving revenues and people are working out and getting fit and working off the stress of the days based off of what's going on with this virus, that's a good thing. So hopefully they don't cancel their memberships, but if you start seeing a drop off, then at that point in time, that's probably when you should probably go and move forward, trying to project out and seeing what that impact would be for your business there. And probably another good counseling session with either one of our resource partners, SCORE, SBDC, or Mission Community Services, or with your accountant. Okay. Anonymous, are there going to be state loan guarantee programs for disaster relief? I don't know the answer to that question. There are state loan guarantee programs that are available, but I'm not sure if they are providing any type of disaster programs or relief programs under their scenarios there. Les, can you email the answer to our question, the one about credit debt, cash flow, and helping cover debt we are carrying for projects that are now stalled? Yeah, Les, what you can do, if you don't mind, if you want to shoot me an email, and when you get the presentation, my email address is on there, and then I'll respond back to you if you don't mind. That'll make it a little bit easier. Okay, Christy, thank you for the information and for putting together this meeting. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope all this information is helping all of you. Tracy, the Sylvang Chamber of Commerce is a SBDC office with EDC in Ventura County with Ray Bowman and staff. We are happy to help with paperwork and questions for the coming weeks. Thank you, Tracy, for putting that out there. Keep in mind, folks, the business community out there, our resource partners are a valuable part of the SBA's mission. Without their services and then the partnerships that our resource partner has with the Chamber of Commerce's is a tremendous assistance to the business community out there. So feel free, do not be afraid to contact these resources that are out there. They can assist you if you need to have it. Okay. Right now, a lot of our centers, though, these resource partners, they may not be doing one-on-one personal meetings with you, but they will definitely do virtual or over the phone meetings with you to set that up.
And of course, in SLO County, our SBDC office is the Cal Poly Hot House. It's also this SBDC, so I can include some of those links as well in that follow-up email.
Okay, let's see, from CT, is there any expectation of how quickly the SBA loan pool of funds is expected to run over the next couple of months? If there is no current expectation of needing the loan, but the loan funds will not be available in 6 months, should reapply now? Good question. Okay, so as of now, $50 billion has been allocated towards the disaster relief program. In comparison, the last disaster that we had was Hurricane Maria, and that was at the time the largest amount of disaster funds put into play of $10 billion. For this coronavirus, $50 billion has been allocated towards this. So fivefold over what was happened with Hurricane Maria, which happened, I believe, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Okay, so that's the enormous impact that they're projecting out on this. And based on conversations and things that I'm hearing from Congress and the president, is that they're looking to provide even more stimulus relief that's out there. So there sounds like there's more to come on this. So I don't believe there's going to be a run and a shortness of funds available for the disaster program. Okay, Anonymous asks, is the SBA going to be hiring additional agents to handle the onslaught of loan requests? Yes, SBA has already done that. They brought in 100 contractors, 100 plus contractors, plus our regular disaster assistance staff to handle the application process. And who knows, maybe more coming down the road here. Okay, Ryan, what is the time frame it will take to secure a loan? So as I mentioned earlier, from start to finish could take anywhere from 45 to roughly about 45 days or so, roughly about 5 weeks. So take that into consideration when considering on when to apply for the disaster loan. And then Anonymous asks, can you list the resources again? Yeah, we'll I'll send out the links to the Cal Poly SBDC, the San Luis Obispo SCORE chapter, and the Mission Community Services. I'll send those links to Jocelyn to send out with the PowerPoint presentation, so you guys can make contact with them if you need to have that.
Yeah, I'll get that sent out as soon as possible. I might send out all of the resources in the PDF and then follow up with the recording of the video. Someone asked if we could email the questions. We can send the recording and I'll note what time the Q&A started, but obviously we won't have them written out because Andy answered them live. So I think that was our last question. Andy, thank you so much. This was very helpful. Again, we will be doing a webinar every Wednesday at 11. Today was at noon, but going forward, they will be at 11. And please let me know. I'm going to include a survey, follow-up survey. Please let us know what topics you would like to have in the upcoming webinars. And maybe we have Andy come back again, because I know there's going to continue to be questions. And I think Andy can probably let me know once the website is updated and accepting applications from SLO County. I will notify those of you that are on this email list that registered for the webinar. Again, thank you. SBA is here for you. We have a lot of local resources. South County Chambers is here for you, as well as all the other chambers in this county and in Santa Barbara County as well. And we thank you for participating. My contact and Andy's contact information is in the webinar details, so feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions or need anything further. And feel free to also call our office, which is 805-489-1488. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you all. Hang in there and let's fight it all together and get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again.